Please read the disclaimer. Donald Trump is about to do it again. What Coinbase CEO thought about the past week, and the Fed is doing something very interesting that it hasn't done before that could rock the markets. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, money makers. Let's get straight into it. The biggest story of the weekend, right? And the reason why XRP took a nosedive here again, down minus 3.8% on the day. Currently, XRP is sitting at $1.84. Ay, ay, ay. But it's not just XRP. Bitcoin selling off here, 87,500. Ethereum down another 3%. Solana down 4.35%. Cardano down 5%. It's the same thing every single week. President Trump tweeting again about Canada and about the potential tariffs that he's going to put on Canada because of the China deal, saying that China is successfully and completely taking over a once great country of Canada. Add to this the fact that the probabilities are rising over the past few hours that there's going to be a blockage by the Democrats and the government shutdown seems to be happening. The probabilities jump from 10% all the way to 70+%. So that is freaking out the market as well. And as we continue the day, as we get further along the day, it seems that the sell-off in the crypto market continues. We don't know yet how the future markets, the futures for the stock markets are going to open up in about 6-7 hours. We'll see, or 5 hours from when I'm recording now. And it will be very interesting to see how it plays out. But this seems again like it's the playbook, right? The same steps. Trump puts a cryptic message on Friday with the tariffs. Then he announces that he's going to do this, and he keeps repeating, double down, keeps tweeting about it, right? Over the weekend, the country is targeted by the new tariffs to clearly respond publicly or signal a willingness to negotiate. And Sunday evening at 6 p.m., we open the futures reopen in case it's in this. That was last time, right? Stock market futures drop in the initial emotional reaction to the tariff headlines. And then on Monday or Tuesday, President Trump continues applying pressure publicly, but investors begin to recognize that the tariffs are not yet live and still scheduled to take effect weeks later, such as February 1st, right? In this scenario, we're talking about the EU tariffs, right? So we're seeing the same thing. It seems the same cycle is happening once again. So am I freaking out about this sell-off? No. But basically, we're at a situation where all the yearly gains for XRP have gone. All the yearly gains for Bitcoin are gone. All the yearly gains for Ethereum are gone. And even Ethereum is minus 3.89% on the year. Solana minus 2.53%. So actually, XRP is still doing, if we just do year to date, XRP is doing better than the rest of the top four. And so this is, where's BNB? BNB actually, I think, is a little bit up, right, in the green. But if you look at the top four, top five, this is the current situation. And all the gain, all that run up that we had in the first week of the year has sold off so far. This is a very interesting situation. It's every single week we have the same playbook, and we can take advantage of this, right? There's always opportunities in the market. And maybe this is the bottom, right? Maybe we jump off of this. Maybe we get good news here with the Fed decision coming this week. So far, it seems probability that the Fed is going to keep interest rate where it is, and that will be very interesting to see, where it plays out. Okay, and very important to remind you that I don't know what the markets are going to do day to day. Of course, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Very, very important. Also, remember that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or send me anything. Those are scammers. Those are imposters. I will never DM you. I will never befriend you. I will never ask you to call me or anything like that. Those are scammers. Please be very careful out there. Okay. Now, listen, this is the situation right now. We've been watching the prediction market all weekend. What we're seeing should be on the radar of every crypto holder. Save this. You'll come back to it. Here's what's happening right now. House Republican passed a spending bill that includes $64 billion for DHS and border security. Senate Democrats are vowing to block votes without significant changes. Sound familiar? It should. This mirrors the 43 shutdown we saw last fall. During the shutdown, crypto markets roughly fell 25%. Not a typo, right? And we can see this. I got it here, right? Wait, that's not that. Here, the graph is down here. You can see the government shutdown, the whole crypto market dropped by about 25. It kept going, but during the shutdown itself, that's what we saw, right? And so if we go back, now look what happens after the situation in Minneapolis. Poly markets are just for a shutdown just jumped from 9% to high 80s in less than 24 hours. The political calculus just shifted dramatically. Republicans are digging in border security funding. Democrats are refusing to negotiate under the current terms. Neither side has initiative to blink right now. Why does this matter for a portfolio? Government shuts down creates uncertainty. Uncertainty drives institutional investors towards cash. Risk assets, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tend to suffer. XRP. Last time this happened, we saw brutal drawdown while Washington played chicken. The dates we watch are January 30th and week leading up to it. So this is the situation right now. We have the Canada situation, the government shutdown situation, the Fed decision this week, and not only that, but the Fed is also doing something that is very interesting because the Fed is preparing to sell US dollars and buy Japanese yen for the first time this century, right? The New York Fed has already done rate checks, which is the exact step taken before real currency intervention. That means the US is preparing to sell dollars to buy yen. This is rare, and historically, when this happens, global markets surge. Japan is under heavy pressure. The yen has been weak for years. Japanese bond yields are at multi-decade highs, and Bank of Japan is still hawkish. Together, this creates stress not just in Japan, but for global markets. This is why the central banks are now taking the situation seriously. Japan has already tried to defend its currency many times on its own, but failed in 2022 and 2024. Even the July 2024 intervention only worked for a short time. History is very clear on this. When Japan acts alone, it does not work. When the US and Japan act together, it does. We saw this in 1999 during the Asian financial crisis. Japan's solo interventions failed, but when the US joined, the yen stabilized. We saw it even more clearly in 1985 with the Plaza Accord, when coordinated action pushed the dollar down nearly 50% over 2 years. That changed everything. The dollar weakened, gold, commodities, non-US markets all pumped. If the Fed intervenes, this is how it will play out. Fed creates dollars, sells them, and use those dollars to buy yen. That weakens the dollar, increase global liquidity, and potentially could hurt inflation in the US. And whenever the dollar is internationally weakened, asset prices usually surge. Now look at crypto. Bitcoin has one of the strongest inverse relationship with the dollar and one of the strongest positive relationship with the yen. Right now, Bitcoin yen correlated is near record highs, but there's a catch. There's still hundreds of billions of dollars tied to the yen carry trade. People borrow cheap yen and invest in stocks and crypto. When the yen strengthens suddenly, they are forced to sell those assets to repay loans. We saw this in August of 2024 when we had the sell-offs for the Japan carry trade. A small Bank of Japan rate hikes sank the yen higher. Bitcoin crashed from 64 to 49,000 in 6 days, and crypto lost 600 billion in value. So yes, yen strength creates short-term risk for crypto, but dollar weakness creates long-term upside. Now, why is this bullish for crypto? Because Bitcoin is still well below its 2025 peak. It is one of the few major assets that is not fully repriced for current debasement. If coordinated intervention actually happened and dollar weakens, capital will look for assets that are still cheap relative to the macro shift. Historically, crypto benefits strongly from that environment. And this could potentially be a big catalyst going into 2026. When we take a look here, we're still significantly detached here, Bitcoin to the M2, right? Remember, it was mimicking about till mid 2025, right? We were about the same, right? It was mimicking, and then look, it started to detach and crypto started to weaken. And again, all of the big investors are looking at this and saying, okay, we have now momentum in the precious metals, but potentially the catch up from crypto could be a 3x, a 4x, a 5x catch up to where it should be, right? If we look at where the precious metal market was in 2022 and where crypto was and where the precious metal market is now, I think there's, if I read today, there's about a 4x or 5x difference between the two. So that catch up could potentially happen. But again, nothing is for sure and we can't know for sure anything, okay? So it's always important to have a plan in place for the good scenario, for the bad scenario, and the meh scenario, the mid scenario, okay? You have to have a plan in place for all these types of scenarios if you're long-term investing. If you're short-term investing, you need a plan for short-term things, for a black swan event, for all that type of things. It's very, very important to remember that. Now I want to talk a little bit about Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, was just at Davos, and he had some interesting takes here on what he heard at Davos. Just wrapped up our week in Davos. I don't love wearing a suit every day, but sometimes it has to be done. Truth be told, just me, I don't own even one. Oh, actually, I have one suit for my wedding. That's it. Here where I live, it's really not, nobody goes in a suit, only like politicians and lawyers. That's it. I know in the US, it's very, normal to have suits, but here, no, it's too hot. Davos is a unique place. World leaders and CEOs and lots of crypto companies all come together in a small mountain town in Switzerland for a few days. It's productive time to connect one-to-one with everyone in the location. And of course, our focus was using the moment to push crypto adoption forward. There were a few key themes and takeaways. Everyone was talking about tokenization, right? We've talked about this before. That's the future. I think that is going to be where most of people are going to get their gateway to crypto. It's going to be stablecoins and tokenization. On the surface, it seems like a buzzword, but it's an important trend. It started with stablecoins. Now it's expanding to every asset class. Business leaders across the Fortune 500 are leaning in. Tokenization will democratize access to high-quality investment, as there are about 4 billion adults who don't have access to these markets today, the unbrokered, except some major progress here in 2026. Crypto legislation and the Clarity Act, if Coinbase and can talk to the banks and get everything smoothed out, as the president said, President Trump, we want to keep the U.S. in crypto. The U.S. is crypto capital of the world. We had countless meetings with key players in D.C. and Davos over the last 2 weeks. There's lots of hard work being done to reach a draft that's win-win for all parties, but especially consumers. It creates some healthy debate. And he can say of the bank CEOs that he met this week, most of them are actually very pro-crypto and are leaning into it as an opportunity. Some aren't quite there yet. One CEO of a top 10 global bank told him that crypto is their number one priority and they view it as existential. Trump and current administration are the most crypto-forward government in the world. This is shocking, right? This line here, right? Very shocking. They're committed to getting market structure done and done correctly. These clear rules are vital for global competitiveness as China and other countries push forward on stablecoins and will put money back in people's pockets, cementing the US as the world crypto hub. ESG and DEI didn't come up all this year. Overall, this week felt productive and focused on real global progress. Credit to Larry Fink as the new WF co-chair for this, right? So BlackRock is involved in this too. I like his idea of choosing other locations for WEF to be held in future years. Crypto and AI are the two most talked about techs, and they are highly complementary. Agents will default using stablecoins for payments since they can't be KYC'd like a human being. Infra exists and usage is rapidly growing. Coinbase and Circle announced partnership with Bermuda, aiming to buy a fully on-chain economy. Excited to make progress on this and create a compelling case study for other nations to follow. So this is a very, very interesting update here from Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. And we'll continue to see what happens here. When you hear all these things that are happening, I know the price action for crypto now is a dud, right? It's not great is the understatement. But when I look at the whole market long term, and I look how undervalued it is in the eyes of many people, then long term, I'm not really freaking out about the current price situation. We've seen similar things before. I wonder what my sentiment will be in another 6 months when I look back at the beginning of the year, the rise here and then the pullback, and all the things that happened in the first 4 weeks of the year. How will I think about it? Let me know in the comment section, what are you thinking is going to happen this week? Hopefully you're staying safe with the storm that's out there in most of the US. Most of our viewership is from the US, but we also have viewers in the UK, Canada, Australia, the Netherlands. Those are the top, I think, 5 viewerships. English speaking makes sense, right? And the Netherlands also, there's a lot of English speakers there. And let me know, what are you thinking about the current situation in the crypto market? Are you doubling down? Are you taking vacation from the crypto market and looking in other avenues of investments? Are you, I don't know, are you mixing it up a little bit? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to smash the like button. Check out the links in the description down below. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. Like I always say,